Okay, welcome back to the Daily Exchange's live coverage of Consensus 2009 in New York. Now this afternoon I'm joined by Diego and Sergio from RSK,
Yes.
RFI, and IOV.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so
It's
a lot of bases covered there.
Yeah,
But RSK, I think, is what you're best known for.
absolutely.
And that launched in, was it January this year, did you say?
January last year,
January
in 2018.
last year. Okay. And so for those of our viewers that aren't actually familiar with RSK,
Yes.
can you talk us through it, explain it, give us a bit of an overview?
Yes. Do you want to go or?
Okay, yeah. RSK is a sidechain to Bitcoin. It's actually the first sidechain that went into production, and so RSK is an open sidechain, and it's not restricted, so anyone can transfer BTC into RBTC, that is the coin that works in our platform, and this is done through a two-way peg, which is a system that through a federation enables this transfer of Bitcoins into our platform. But our platform is secured by merge mining. So about now 40 to 45% of Bitcoin miners are already mining the RSK. At the same time, they are mining the Bitcoin network. So that pretty much makes us the most secure smart contract platform in the world now.
Okay, so I'll touch on merge mining again a bit later, but why would someone want to use RSK instead of Bitcoin? What's the added bonus? Smart contracts, right?
Yeah, so we can provide smart contracts, and also we provide a scalability solution, because we provide on-chain scalability, but because we have very fast and expressive VM, we can provide secondary layer solutions that can run on top of RSK and use the Bitcoin as its native currency. So you can have payment channel networks, as maybe we talk about that topic later, like the RIF payments and RIF Lumino network, or you can create like no-cost hubs and serve billions of users from the RSK platform.
Yes.
Via Bitcoin's mining. And so,
Exactly.
so with merge mining, I find it deeply fascinating. Can you just give us a bit of a 101 on how merge mining works?
Okay, so basically merge mining is organized in mining pools, and so a mining pool or an individual miner basically creates a template for a block, and if you put in that block a small amount of information from the RSK blockchain, which is a hash of the RSK block, you are able, by mining a single block, by mining Bitcoin, to provide proof of work for other blockchains. In this case, for the RSK blockchain. So with the same equipment, with the same hardware, you are mining both blockchains at the same time. And this was not an invention of ours. The first blockchain that was merge mining was Namecoin. But there was some kind of mismatch of interest, because Namecoin had its own token. So in this case, we are completely aligned with Bitcoin miners, because we are using BTC as our currency.
So I'm probably going to butcher this analogy, but it's almost like you're taking the emissions or the leftovers from Bitcoin mining and using it to secure your network, and in the process you don't create any extra energy, or there's no extra requirements. It's just you take something that was there and you put it to good work.
In the process of mining, miners create what is called shares, and these shares, which are blocks solved at a lower difficulty, are used to create the proof of work for RSK. So the difficulties are lower for shares, a little bit higher for RSK blocks, and then highest for Bitcoin blocks.
If I can, because I think that's a very technical explanation. So I think you're right. What we do is we use the byproduct of Bitcoin mining to secure, blocks, intermediate blocks. Because also one thing that Sergio mentioned is that our consensus protocol that was designed by Sergio is called DCore Plus, enables to have blocks up to 15 or 12 seconds, I think, but now it's on average on 30 seconds.
Okay.
So
even though a Bitcoin block's about 10 minutes.
Exactly. So we also offer that. So you have faster settlement. Lower transactional costs, no additional footprint for Bitcoin. So this is actually a real scalability solution, and you are taking more or creating much more value on the same infrastructure and energy costs.
So philosophically, we think that Bitcoin is a great store of value, and we don't want to change it, alter it, change it in any way. So we are building on top of that.
You want to add to it.
Exactly.
Really. Why? So I think there's only 3 coins that have merged mine. So I think it was first Namecoin, Dogecoin, and then RSK. Merge mining sounds like a no-brainer when you explain it like this. Why is no one else using merge mining?
Generally, there are misalignment of incentives. Okay, so there are certain kind of wars between blockchains, and in the case of Dogecoin that merged with Litecoin, the thing that the hash rate was moving from one blockchain to another and iterating to the blockchain that paid more, and that was in detriment of both protocols. Both protocols were suffering from that. So that aligned incentives to do merge mining, but generally it's difficult to align incentives to do merge mining.
Okay.
I mean, I would say the key there is if you have a separate currency, then the main chain, then you start creating a conflict of interest. So that's why we choose to have our currency fully aligned with the Bitcoin ecosystem, and that's why it's a one-to-one peg, and the only way you can create a smart Bitcoin, RBTC is the ticker that Sergio mentioned, is actually by locking one Bitcoin. So RBTC and Bitcoin have the same price, they follow because they are actually the same underlying assets.
And you're not looking to usurp Bitcoin or replace it in any way. It's rather, you just want to, not threaten it by working with it. So I know that you've got a pretty interesting background, I believe, of how you came to this. You worked on the Bitcoin protocol in some of its earlier days. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I think you discovered some pretty fatal flaws.
Oh yeah, well at the beginning, I just didn't believe in Bitcoin like most of us. I mean, I said, okay, I was fascinated with the code, but I was sure there were a lot of security problems on the protocol. So I started looking at the code day and night, and suddenly I find my first bug on the Bitcoin code. And it was a very interesting experience to talk with the core developers. And I very easily got in touch with them. So I became very close to the core development team at that time. So
around what time was this?
The first vulnerability was reported in, I think, 2012. I think.
Okay,
so this is very early days. So
yes, I was.
So what core were you interacting with?
Well, I remember reporting the vulnerability, and the first thing they said, well, okay, we'll fix it, go away. And what happened is that in the fix they did, they introduced another problem. So I was kind of, hey guys, you have to put me in the loop. So I became more part of the loop
of the process
because you cannot just pull out, the researcher who reported the vulnerability. You have to take that person in the loop.
Maybe they were not sure what were your intentions. So that was
I understand that completely. They probably thought that I was a threat to the project, but that's what generally happens in blockchain projects.
And now, obviously, you very much believe in Bitcoin, and it's very cool to hear that you're creating technology to support it, not to try and replace it or compete with it. Not that, it's not financial advice, not that I have any particular preference, but, at the end of the day, we're all here because of Bitcoin. That's what got us all into the space and what kicked things off. What is your grand vision for RSK and Bitcoin and how it's all going to work together, and what's the 10-year future?
You want to tackle that?
Well, yes, of course. We have been chasing since the beginning one vision, that is that we are building the Internet of Value. Much like the Internet of Information, creating a place where people could contribute knowledge or access to knowledge openly, neutrally. We want to build the same for the transfer of value, an open system for the transfer of value. And by definition, an internet is a network of networks. That's why what we do is that we create protocols and networks that are interconnected. Indeed, we are working towards integrating other networks like Litecoin or Bitcoin Cash or
cross-chain compatibility.
Exactly. So in our vision, we are not thinking of one to rule them all. Although we think that certain networks are very good for certain things, like what we mentioned, like Bitcoin as a store of value, as digital gold is the best network. So why don't we interconnect the networks and we create a network of networks that will...
Which networks have you already integrated or you're currently working on integrating?
Well, for now, Bitcoin. That was the first one, and then now we launched third layer networks like RIF payments. There are networks, off-chain networks that use the smart contracts on RSK to secure agreements. So it's basically you can do peer-to-peer interactions very efficiently, very fast, with the security that if somebody doesn't abide by the agreement, then you can go to the smart contract and enforce it. So it's a system, it's like kind of the smart contracts become the legal system that enforces the agreements. But as long as you behave, you don't need to go there. So it's very inexpensive, it's very cheap to do transactions in that.
Enforce legal abiding contracts.
Exactly. And now we are doing it only for payments, but the idea is that you can extend this concept and do it for more complex agreements. So you could engage peer-to-peer with more complex logic and
who do you picture using it? Enterprises, your average person on the street, or enterprises building for the average person on the street?
Well, I think that the first infrastructure we are building is about payments, because our organization is focused on financial inclusion. So almost all projects we launch or partners we have relate to financial inclusion. So we created the Lumino network, which is a second layer payment network that works on top of RSK, that it will also in the future integrate with Lightning Network through the RIF Payments API. And I think that's the first step for financial inclusion.
Yes.
And then we can have, state channels, different kind of contract that you can enforce on chains that you can actually execute off chain.
Yeah, but we are also, the thing is that if you want this to work in the financial, in the poorest areas of our society, like in the poorest parts of our society, it needs to be extremely efficient, it needs to be highly secure, very easy to use. So once you overcome that challenge, you can use this technology everywhere. And that's why we are also engaging with governments, with corporations, because in our strategy, governments and corporations are the ones who have the users. So that's an easy way to to reach mass adoption, secure the technology, and then you can create a peer-to-peer environment that, it's from a political, not only from a technical and economical, but also from a political perspective, is harder to attack, if you will. No? So
which markets are you looking at? Like you talk about financial inclusion and some of the poorest people. So is it?
I think Latin America, of course. For financial inclusion, Latin America, Africa, India, Southeast Asia are the main markets, and
so the unbanked.
The unbanked, and maybe in Latin America it's 50% of the population is unbanked, but in other places it's even more. It's like maybe 70-80%. So
And Latin America has been for us the test bed for all these technologies. We are doing tests on slums in Argentina about using cryptocurrency as specific for payments. So
And we're talking payments like, use your phone to execute it, that sort of stuff. Might not have a computer or a very good one.
All the financial inclusion efforts that we are doing are based on smartphones, because you cannot expect them to have a notebook or it's a smart smartphone base. And
Well, my first project about financial inclusion, I think that CoinDesk did a report on that, an article on that was the firm coin.
yeah, the firm coin, I love it.
Which was actually a banknote with a microprocessor that could store bitcoins, and you could load and unload bitcoins. And that was one of my hardware projects of 2013, I think.
So it's
Ahead of the curve.
yes. But I think in the financial inclusion projects we are doing now, we are working with the representation of the local currency, because you cannot expose the people to the volatility of crypto.
So stable coins.
Exactly. So it's based on stable coins, and you have many ways of doing stable coins. No, fully collateralized with the actual asset, like or cryptocurrency backed. That it's one of our projects, like to enable a protocol where people can have like stable currencies collateralized with crypto, so you have full transparency on the backing of the assets. And
Cool. So we're obviously at consensus.
yes.
Why are you here, and what are you looking to get out of the whole thing?
Well, we came to actually present we have been coming to consensus since 2016.
Okay.
So we have been giving a talk in consensus almost from the life of consensus. The only consensus we missed was the 2015 one, and we came in 2016 to present the white paper for Rootstock. So and then year after year we come and we show, how we advance in the delivery of the technology. The following year we came with the testnet. The following year we came with the mainnet. This year we came with the RIF, the RSK infrastructure framework. So with the first services implemented. So that's our way to show that we put our actions where our mouth is, and also we brought some use cases that are using our platforms for social impact. So that's what we do, is like to share what we are doing in technology adoption, and also to inspire others, because we think this is not something we can do by ourselves. We need everybody to be part.
And what will you come with next year?
We cannot do forward statements. No, I think basically we have the objective is to fulfill the RIF roadmap, to have the full stack in place by the end of the year with the first version of all the services. So it's not only, as I said, payments is one part, but then you have named services that simplify, so you can have an alias, data storage, Oracle services that are needed to gather information from the outside world.
Like oracles.
It's mostly a marketplace where Oracle providers can plug in and offer the services.
So it sounds like you're very much going out this way, very
several
much expanding.
directions. And the team is growing a lot.
Yeah.
Well, we just announced the opening of offices in Shanghai, Singapore, and an innovation lab in Silicon Valley. So that's part. We want to settle, we had to settle the regional offices, to settle the technology, and also mature the use cases, and now have only a few people involved. Like they are impacting only maybe a few hundred people, and take them. I think the challenge is to scale these.
Scale the user base.
Exactly, to make a meaningful impact. But we are doing good. It's like not many projects are actually impacting society already. So
not many projects are actually used.
yes.
Do you want to work with us? Call RSK.0.
There you go, the perfect sales pitch. Is there anything else that you'd love for our audience to know about the project, about what you're working towards before we go?
No, I think we are targeting, as I said, organizations willing to use these technologies to improve their efficiency, organizations with a purpose that is related to social impact, of course. Also developers, we are building RIF libraries on top of all these services. So traditional developers, non-blockchain developers can use decentralized infrastructure in a very easy way. And we have the first libraries, but we will have more and more. So the idea is that it will be very easy to use decentralized infrastructure, even if you are not a blockchain developer. That's part of our adoption strategy. So
that's what you need.
Yeah, exactly. And then because I think you have like, I don't know, millions of developers in the world that are already doing applications that are helping people's life and making, so why don't we put these technologies to the service of those developers instead of like forcing them to understand these technologies that are very cumbersome. Even like, well, Sergio is kind of a beautiful mind, so he can see the matrix and understand all this. But you know, even for very good senior developers, these technologies are like very, yeah, exactly.
Well,
so.
I love the inclusiveness of the project. If there's one thing I've taken away from it, it's inclusivity. I think is a big part of it. Thank you. So before you guys go, one question that we ask everyone that comes on the show is when the clock strikes 12 at midnight, New Year's Eve this year, so the end of 2019, what will the price of Bitcoin be?
Well, I will be a party pooper because I think we still have some downs to go. So I would say somewhere between 4,000 and 8,000.
Okay, interesting.
I say 12,000.
Okay, you have an optimist here.
We'll see. We'll find out who's right. Okay. All right, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you for having us here.
And I hope you enjoy the rest of the consensus.
Great pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll be back with some more after this. See ya.